Hello and welcome to the Bhagavatam. In the last episode, we talked about how Krishna had gone along with all his family members to Kurukshetra. And in Kurukshetra, they had met with the Brijvasis, the residents of Vrindavan. They had met with all the other kings and people of that time. And there was this big solar eclipse that was taking place. And after that, they met with the great sages. And they came back to Dwarka, making a promise to all the Brijvasis that later on they would come to Vrindavan. Now, they've come back to Dwarka. And one day, the two sons of Vasudeva, Balaram and Krishna, came to pay him respects, bowing down at his feet. I don't know if you're aware of this, but this is a tremendous custom in India, to bow down at the feet of the elders, to offer respect. So they came to pay him respect and bowed down to his feet. Vasudeva, the father, greeted them with great affection. You'll find that people will bow down at the feet of their guru, of their parents, or touch the feet, whichever way it is done, or they in front of the deity in the temple, the same kind of prostrating oneself with humility, because the practice is just that, to practice humility. It's something very powerful and much needed in today's time, where everyone is so caught up in I, me, and mine, trying to be something, to be substantial, to be something great, to be influential, to be powerful, to be wealthy, and that somehow to prove that one is better than the other. But the Vedic culture teaches humility above all else. Krishna says to Arjuna that only in a humble state of mind can one learn from a guru. Only there, in that humble state of mind, can one actually gain wisdom. Wisdom is not something you can get just by reading a book. You can only get it through humility. And humility, which is offered, especially in terms of service, to a wise or enlightened being. So having heard the great sage's words, now so Vasudeva had heard from the sages at Kurukshetra about the nature of his sons, who they were, how fortunate he was that the Supreme Being, the God of all gods, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the original person, the source of all creation, had taken birth as his sons. And this had been mind-blowing for Vasudeva. So having heard from the sages words concerning the power of his two sons and having seen their valorous deeds, Vasudeva became convinced of their divinity. Now you would wonder, why did he not understand this earlier? He'd seen Krishna do amazing things. He'd seen Krishna destroy terrible enemies, single-handedly even. He'd seen that Krishna, from the time he was a baby, was unable to be defeated by even the worst of beings who came to kill him, even when he was a little baby. So how is it that Vasudeva did not realize the true divinity of Krishna and his brother Balaram? These divine beings were not like any of us. They had powers and capabilities that none of us have. And yet, Vasudeva was bewildered about the true nature of his sons. You see, all of us are bewildered. We are in the illusion of what is called Maya. And Maya is the nature of this world, or one can call it Mahamaya, the great Maya, the great illusion. And this has been sometimes called the Matrix. We are in this Mahamaya and bewildered by the world. We think that this body is me. We think that these possessions are mine, this family is mine. We think that this world is real. And that is the grand illusion. Spirituality means to overcome the illusion, to see things as they really are. So, on the other hand, Krishna bewilders his parents with what is called Yoga Maya, his family members. And he does this so that they do not realize who he is. So there's two kinds of Maya. There is the Maya that bewilders all living entities. And then there is this very special kind of illusion that Krishna has, which bewilders his loved ones, so that they do not know who he is. He doesn't want them to. And why is that? Because he wants to relate to them as if he was their child, or as if he is their buddy, or as if he is their lover or their husband. He wants to have a relationship with them. Whereas if they know his true power and they know his true capabilities and they know who he really is, then they will put him on a pedestal and they will worship him, but they will not be able to love him. To love someone, then you need to be able to be on equal footing with them. Now that's not possible, to be on equal footing with God. So therefore he creates Yoga Maya. Right? This is a divine illusion. It does not mean that they are bewildered by the world. It simply means they are bewildered about the true nature of who Krishna is. So Vasudeva says to Krishna, "O Krishna, O Balaram, Krishna, best of yogis, O eternal Shankarshan, I know that you too are personally the source of universal creation and the ingredients of creation as well." So imagine something that is the source as well as the ingredient. Think of that. How can something be the source as well as the ingredient? This can be a puzzle. This universe is vast. It has in it 2 trillion galaxies, 700 sextillion stars, unaccountable trillions of planets, and even in our own Milky Way, there are said, based on the latest telescopes that they have, I think it's not the Hubble telescope, it's the other one that's now out in space, there are 60 billion habitable planets just in the Milky Way. 60 billion. So there's life everywhere, all across the universe. There are beings all around us, inside us, everywhere. Billions and trillions and quadrillions, way more than you can even count. And what is the source of all that? We're saying it's not just an energy. We're saying it's not just some cosmic, universal phenomenon. It didn't just happen by itself. And it didn't just happen by energy turning into various forms. Yes, that is partially true. But it is not the complete picture. Behind that energy, directing that energy, is a being. Just like there are so many computers in the world, millions of them. And all of them now, that information is gathered into AI. But yet to access that AI takes a being, it takes a person. And at a specific point of view from which that message can be delivered or the answers can be arrived at. So in the same way, there is a being behind this universal creation, behind all of this, behind these 2 trillion galaxies, and furthermore, the spiritual world itself. That being is known as Krishna. He is the supreme being, the source of the light, the source of Brahman, the supreme God, personality of Godhead. And from him comes Vishnu, and from Vishnu comes all the universes. So Vasudeva is saying, you are the supreme personality of Godhead who manifests as the Supreme Lord of both nature and the creator of nature, Mahavishnu. Everything that comes into existence, however, and whenever it does so, is created within you. So everything is created within you, is created by you, from you, for you, and in relation to you. This is such a complete way of looking at it. God creates the world from himself, because there is nothing but God. He is everywhere, he is everything, and yet he is a person. A and negative A. You think that because he's everywhere, therefore he cannot be a person. No, that's the most amazing part. That he is everywhere and somewhere. That he is everything and something. So whenever whatever there is created within you, by you, from you, for you, and in relation to you. O transcendent Lord, from within yourself you created this entire universe full of unlimited variety. And then you entered within it in your personal form as the Supersoul, the Paramatma. So great yogis, when they meditate upon the Paramatma. That is the presence of God within themselves. And they are able to have darshan, they're able to see and experience God in that way. Now we can agree or disagree. That doesn't matter. Until you do the work that those great sages do and perform the processes by which they're able to have such experiences of Paramatma, the Lord within the heart, we cannot contest something that we have not tried. Even as a beginner, if you begin the process of meditation, if you begin the process of chanting the names of God, you will begin to experience a different state of consciousness than your normal state. No amount of drugs, no amount of coffee, no amount of any kind of substance can imitate that. Even a half hour, 1 hour, 2 hours spent in meditation, you will find yourself in a different world. It's like your eyes opened up. It's as if your energy shifted, as if everything has suddenly uplifted. It's the same world, but you're seeing it with different eyes. You're experiencing it in different ways. Now go into a more intense form of meditation, and then even more things start to happen. Then, of course, we have our excuses that we're busy and so on and so forth. In this way, O unborn Supreme Soul, as the life force and consciousness of everyone, you maintain the creation. So he's saying, you're present inside everybody. You're in the heart of every living being as the witness. He doesn't do anything. He's not the doer of things. You're the doer. Right? You think at least you're the doer. Though actually you're not even the doer. You think that you are performing all kinds of acts, that this is your life, this is my life, we say, right? We say that this is, I'm here to experience everything. Oh yes, you are, but you're not the doer. You may be intending, you may be choosing, but material nature, if it doesn't work, then no matter what you try to do, if your body doesn't function, your heart doesn't beat, your lungs do not take in air and take out the oxygen from them, then no matter how much you think you're the doer, you have no power, no shakti, no capability. That is given to you. That is the prana shakti that is put within you. And as long as that is there, you'll be able to do things. The moment that is taken out of there, you can do nothing. So therefore Vasudeva continues talking to his sons Krishna and Balaram, and he says, whatever potencies of the life air or pran and other elements of universal creation they exhibit are actually all personal energies of the Supreme Lord. For both life and matter are subordinate to him and dependent on him, and also different from one another. Listen carefully again. All of nature is subordinate to Krishna and dependent on him. We have such a big desire to be independent. It is our desire to be independent that keeps us in this world. We think it's a great thing. Oh no, I'm independent. No, you're not. You're 100% dependent. You're dependent on the air. If there was no air, you'd die in a few seconds. If your heart didn't beat, you'd die right away. If the sun didn't shine anymore, you'd be gone. You're dependent in every way. From the seasons to nature to the functioning of this body. You're completely dependent. The moment it shuts down, you have no choice. The best doctors in the world, when the body decides this is your time, done, nothing they can do to bring you back. All the crying in the world, all the attachments, all the loved ones, all the possessions, all the money cannot bring you back. And so therefore we understand that we are not independent. We are dependent. We think we're free, we want freedom, but we are not free. And so we have to start to understand that because of that fact that we are dependent, we need to know who is the source of everything. From where does everything come? What makes all this possible? What makes existence possible? It's not just a random phenomena that just came into existence and now somehow it's just carrying on. No, it's not. You don't have something as deliberate as this. The way the universe is, the way it works, the way the seasons are, the way the nature operates, the way the waves only come to a certain point and then go back, the way the stars and the planets move in a certain orbit, that doesn't happen by accident. That happens by design. Show me anything that actually works that happens by accident. You think this body was designed by accident? Some evolution? No, never, not possible. Prove it. I challenge any scientist, prove it. Make it happen. Take your test tubes, do all the experiments you want, do the randomization you need, make something, make a blade of grass, make a mosquito, make anything. You won't be able to. You can take what exists and turn it into something else. That is possible, genetic splicing or whatever else you might want to do. But you will not be able to create the raw materials, nor will you be able to create life. And that's an open challenge. So therefore he says, this is again Krishna's father, Vasudeva, thus everything active in the material world is set into motion by that supreme being. So to give you a little deeper understanding of this, try to create something that you could look at. So you have, on one hand, Krishna and Balaram that we're talking about. They are known as Bhagavan, Paramatma. They're also known as Purusha, the supreme male, the creator, the enjoyer, the controller, who is completely independent. And then we have the living entities that is known as Pradhan or Prakriti, nature. We are all the feminine energy. The supreme being is the masculine energy, the creator, the enjoyer, the controller. And we are all enjoyed and controlled and dependent. Our ego doesn't like that idea. Our ego wants to think I am the enjoyer, I am going to be the controller, and I am independent. That is because we all want to be God. You see, we have these weird notions of what is God. We think that God is some being in the sky, in the clouds, some guy who judges people, sends them to hell, whatever nonsense has been taught. No, he's the supreme enjoyer. He creates for his enjoyment. He creates us for his enjoyment. He creates the world for his enjoyment. He creates all of this for his enjoyment. And he isn't busy enjoying it. And no one's telling us that. Right? So it's an important piece of the puzzle that we need to understand, that when we try to enjoy the world separately. Like if my hand wanted to enjoy food separately from my body, it couldn't do so. It has to take the food and give it to the body. The part has to serve the whole. When it gives food to the body is nourished and the hand is nourished. But the hand cannot enjoy by itself. My toes cannot eat the food by themselves or cannot nourish themselves separately from the whole body. So when the part serves the whole, then you feel satisfied. The reason we do not feel satisfied, no matter how much we have, no matter we have the best partner in the world, we have the best house, the best job, the best everything, and still we're not satisfied. And you'll see that with so many of these powerful individuals, they're never satisfied. No matter how much money, fame, beauty, whatever it is that they have, they're never satisfied. They always want more, 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 more. Always hungry for more. Why is that? Because there's an emptiness inside that cannot be filled by all the stuff of the world. You see, we are spiritual beings, and spirit can never be satisfied by matter. Spirit can only be satisfied by spirit. Spirit can only be satisfied by spirit. That which is spiritual can only be fulfilled by something that is truly spiritual. It will never be satisfied by any amount of matter. For example, a fish taken out of water will never be satisfied no matter what you give it. Taken out of water, you can give it a house, you can give it an airplane, you can give it the most luxurious lifestyle, you can give it $100 billion. It doesn't care. It needs water. And that's where it lives and that's where it's happy. So the soul needs true spiritual sustenance to fulfill it. It will never be satisfied with all the stuff of the world. Doesn't mean you shouldn't have stuff. That's not the point. The point is that once you have your spiritual foundation, you can have everything of the world. You can have all of it for that matter. But you will not become deluded. You will not become bewildered or illusioned by the world. You will see the world for what it is. Just the energy of God. And you will understand that it is for His pleasure. And that I own nothing. I came empty-handed, I will leave empty-handed. So that you will have this basic understanding of life. And you will live in a way with all that you have to serve the divine, to serve God, and to serve all humanity, as well as to take care of yourself. But gone will be the selfishness and greed and arrogance and pride. Gone will be the ego. Gone will be the desires that right now run us. Because right now we think we are independent, but look, we are controlled in every way. We are controlled by our desires. We are controlled by our mind. We are controlled by our senses. We are controlled by our intellect. We are controlled by our ego. But I am none of these things. I am not my mind. I am not my body. I am not my senses. I have these things, but that's not me. I have a house, I have a car, but that's not me. I am the being within this, the soul. So Prabhupada writes, prana is the vital life air, which is a more subtle element than the ordinary air we can touch. And because prana is so subtle, it is sometimes considered the ultimate source of everything. But even subtle energies such as prana depend on their functional capacity on the supremely subtle Paramatma, the supersoul, the divine or God. Just as the velocity of an arrow is derived from the strength of the bowman who shoots it, so also all subordinate energies depend on the power of the Supreme Being. And then there's this beautiful thing he says, the glow of the moon, the brilliance of fire, the radiance of the sun, the twinkling of the stars, the flash of lightning, the permanence of mountains, and the aroma and sustaining power of the earth, all these are actually you. He's telling Krishna that. In the Shvetashvatra Upanishad it is said, there in the spiritual sky the sun does not shine, nor does the moon. The stars or lightning as we know them, what to speak of ordinary fire. It is by the reflection of the spiritual sky's effulgence that everything else gives light, and thus, through its radiance, the entire universe becomes luminous. So what it's saying is that the light of the spiritual world is so all ever present within that universe, within that spiritual world, that there is no need of a sun or a moon or fire. Right? In the Bhagavad Gita, the same thing is said. The splendor of the sun, which dissipates the darkness of this whole world, comes from me. Krishna says this. Splendor of the sun, which dissipates the darkness of the entire world, comes from me. And the splendor of the moon and the splendor of fire also come from me. Now you begin to understand. Krishna says, then he continues, you are water, and also its taste, and its capacities to quench thirst and sustain life. You exhibit your potencies through the manifestations of the air as bodily warmth, vitality, mental power, physical strength, endeavor, and movement. So all our capabilities are coming from this prana shakti, the power of this subtle energy called prana. That subtle energy comes from the divine. Not a product of our food. It's not a product of our own heartbeat or something of, an outcome of this body. No. There is a prana shakti, there is an energy within us. And as you purify your consciousness, that prana shakti becomes stronger. It becomes more vibrant. You become more alive. And the more you dull it by constantly bombarding it with all kinds of information and all kinds of entertainment and all kinds of substances, it becomes duller and duller and duller. And the more dull it becomes, the more lifeless you become. And then the more you need of all those external things to boost you up. Or take away all of that and come back home to what you're truly capable of. Then he says to Krishna, you are the directions and their accommodating capacity, the all-pervading ether, and the elemental sound residing within it. You are the primeval, the original, unmanifest form of sound, the first syllable Om, and the audible speech by which sound, as words, acquires particular references. The same thing is said in Bhagavad Gita by Krishna. He says, I am the taste of water, the light of the sun and the moon, the syllable Om in the Vedic mantras. I am the sound in ether and ability in man. If you just meditate on this one verse, everything you're experiencing, whether it's the taste of water, whether it's the light of the sun and the moon, or whether you go into meditation and you chant the syllable Om, or whether it is just the sound, the ability to hear things, and the abilities that you have to function and work, all of that ability is coming from the divine, from God. Keep in mind that we are not talking of God in the way Abrahamic religions do, in a very different context here. In a very, very, very different context. Then Vasudeva continues, Krishna's father. He says, you are the power of the senses to reveal their objects. The senses presiding demigods and the sanction those demigods give for sensory activity. See, even our senses, we are so attached to our senses in today's time. We're so attached to sensual gratification, enjoyment, whether it's of food or sex or any other kind of enjoyment that we can get that is sensual. It could be from something that's beautiful to look at, could be something lovely to hear, something wonderful to touch, to be held, our bodies, all of that, all this sensory activity. The ability to enjoy comes from God. There comes a time when we get old and that sensory ability becomes weak. Our eyesight becomes weak. Our hearing becomes weak. Our ability to experience touch and taste and all of that weakens. And then we don't know why it happens. But here it's being said very clearly that ability is coming from God. Then he says, you are the capacity of the intelligence for decision making and the living being's ability to remember things accurately. See, every one of these things is so important. You are false ego in the mode of ignorance. So this ego that we have right now, this is me, I, me, mine. This is false ego. False ego means you identify with your body. You think this is me. I am this, I'm male, I'm female, I'm this career, this designation, this nationality. All of that is part of your false ego. A false ego is an accumulated sense of self. It's not the real you. It's what you've accumulated from the world. Some people said you're smart, you're beautiful, you're wealthy, you're capable. Whatever designations or qualities or attributes you think you have are all part of your false ego. The real ego comes when the false ego is stripped off. That's what humility does. Humility is about peeling off the layers of this false notion of who you are and coming to the real realization that I am none of this. I am a spiritual being. Being able to experience that, being able to feel that, and being able to live that. So he's saying here, you are the false ego in the mode of ignorance, which is the source of the physical elements. So because of that false ego, then we give rise to all the things of the world. Then there's false ego in the mode of passion, which is the source of the bodily senses. False ego in the mode of goodness, which is the source of the devas and the unmanifest total material energy which underlies everything. So this is the basic principle. That divine source, God, is the unmanifest total material energy which underlies everything. And when you stop there, however, you'll end up with a very half-baked understanding. So if you just say God is a being, then then this world is separate from God, then you have a very faulty view. If you think that this energy is everything, then also you have an imperfect and flawed view. Incomplete, perhaps. But when you understand that God is not only the energy of the universe and all the shapes that it takes and all the abilities that it gives us, but is also seated in everyone's heart and is also a being, now your mind is blown. Like, oh my gosh, so much, all the different possibilities are all there. And that's what the Vedas say. They say that he's Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan. I'll explain it a little further as we go later. Then he says, you are the one. So this is the father telling his son, because he's now become aware of who his sons are. You are the one indestructible entity among all the destructible things of this world, like the underlying substance that is seen to remain unchanged while the things made from it undergo transformations. So what is that underlying substance that is seen to remain unchanged while the things made from it undergo transformation? So there's the raw material of this universe that remains unchanged while the things made from it undergo transformation. So let's think of wood. It's a tree in the form of a tree. You cut down the tree, you make all kinds of things from it, furniture, this, that. But still what is behind it is the tree. You take metal, you make all kinds of things out of it, but behind it is metal. Similarly, you go even further and deeper, then it's atoms. And if you go behind the atoms, then it's quarks, and behind that there are waves. And those waves are the energy of God. The modes of material nature, namely goodness, passion, and ignorance, together with all their functions, become directly manifest within you. You who are the supreme absolute truth by the arrangement of your Yoga Maya. So here's kind of a simple way to understand what he just said. There is the world, and then there are senses. We take in everything through our senses. Now, our senses have a particular filter, which is referred to in the Vedas as the three modes of nature. Right? These three modes are called goodness, passion, and ignorance. Goodness is a place, we're not talking about good and bad, okay, here. Mode of goodness, sattva gun, is a place in which you have very pure mind, where you don't hold enmity towards others, where you are kind, compassionate, loving towards all beings, where you are forgiving. So all those qualities are there. You've cultivated that. You're in the mode of goodness. Your food, your diet, your environment, everything reflects that. In the mode of passion, you're very much the doer. You're out there trying to make things happen. You're hustling, you're creating, you're working, you're doing stuff. The person in the mode of goodness is more chill. They're not so interested in all that. But the person in the mode of passion is very much about accomplishment, achievement, ambition. And the person in the mode of ignorance is someone who is sort of feels defeated, doesn't really have much drive, doesn't have much ambition, and isn't in the mode of goodness either, right? They're kind of like depressed. They're more just trying to get by, trying to survive at best. At worst could be depressed and suicidal even. But those are the modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance. They're states of mind, states of consciousness that we can break up almost all human beings. And we go through these from time to time, sort of mixtures of these. We'll have moments where we are feeling like down and out. We don't feel like doing anything. There's other moments where we're passionate and doing stuff. And there's other moments where we're in a chill, peaceful, calm, relaxed state. So we go through these on a daily basis, but there'll be a predominant mode that we are mostly in. And you can see this in people. So the three modes of nature then affect our mind, they affect our ego, they affect our intelligence. And they then result in certain kinds of action, which then results in karma. That karma that is the result of our actions then affects the three modes of nature that we are in. See? So it then becomes a vicious cycle. Our thoughts, words, actions then result in the modes of nature that we are in. Goodness, passion, or ignorance. And then that becomes the filter with which we perceive the world. If you're in the mode of ignorance, you'll see the world as, nothing's working, nothing's any good, everyone's out to get me. Nothing feels good, nothing feels right, because you're in the mode of ignorance. If you're in the mode of passion, you're like, yeah, man, we got to go get out, get this done and get that done. And that affects your whole consciousness is wired that way. If you're in the mode of goodness, you're like, yeah, I want to pursue spirituality. I want to find ways in which to eat healthy, and I want to find ways in which to meditate and purify my mind and read books about that. And I want to elevate my consciousness. But then there is a state beyond all of that. That's called Shuddha Sattva. That is beyond even the mode of goodness. And that is where you come to the true spiritual state. Our aim is to get to that, not just the mode of goodness. Thus, these created entities that we see around us, the living beings, transformations of material nature, do not exist except when material nature manifests them within you. So he says, all of this seen world that we see around us does not exist except when you manifest it, O Krishna. At which time you also manifest within them. So not only do you manifest the world, but then you come into the world and present yourself so that we may see you and get to know you. But aside from such periods of creation, you stand alone as the transcendental reality. So the universe is created and destroyed. It is said that when Vishnu breathes out, the universe is created in his one exhale. And then it takes trillions of years, and then he breathes in, and the entire universe is destroyed. And in this way, the entire creation and destruction of the universe happens again and again and again. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said, chapter 9, text 4-5, Maya tatam idam sarvam jagad avyakta murtina matsthani sarva bhutani na chaham teshva avastitaha. Krishna says in the Gita, by me, in my unmanifest form. So Krishna has a manifest form where you see him as the Supreme Being, but then he has an unmanifest form. That is his energy. So he says, by me, in my unmanifest form, this entire universe is pervaded. All beings are in me, but I am not in them. And yet everything that is created does not rest in me. Behold my mystic opulence. Although I am the maintainer of all living entities, and although I am everywhere, I am not part of this cosmic manifestation, for myself is the very source of creation. So he exists as the energy of the universe, but then he also exists outside of the universe. This idea that God is the universe, no, is very partial. That's just his energy. Behind that energy is the being. Vasudeva continues, they are truly ignorant who, while imprisoned within the ceaseless flow of this world's material qualities, fail to know you, the supreme soul of all that be, as their ultimate sublime destination. See this? Those who, while imprisoned within the ceaseless flow of this world's material qualities, the goodness, passion, ignorance, fail to know you, those who fail to know you as the supreme soul of all that be, as their ultimate sublime destination, because of their ignorance, the entanglement of material work forces, the entanglement of karma forces such souls to wander in the cycle of birth and death. It's an important thing to understand. We are caught in the cycle of birth and death. Perhaps you know this. Perhaps you've sensed it. Or perhaps you really get it. That this is not our only life. It's not like we have just one life. No, we've been around millions of lifetimes. We've been and done all kinds of things, from the good, the bad, the ugly. We've done it all. But we're still here. And we're trapped. The day you realize that, hey, I want out, is the day you'll begin to seek liberation, moksha. And then you'll come across a whole bunch of new traps, various religions, various paths, various things. But I tell you one thing, it's not a path of belief. Whatever can be experienced out there in heaven can be experienced right here and now. So always test the path you're on. Are you experiencing that other reality here and now? Because if you're not, then you have a belief system. You have a promise of something out there, but nothing down here. You will experience liberation here and now. Means that the things of the world, liberation means to be free. The things of the world will no longer affect you as they once did. True spiritual practice brings about this state where the forces of this world, that is the sufferings caused by this body, sufferings caused by other living beings, sufferings caused by nature, all of those will no longer affect you in the same way that they used to. You will notice that there will be a tremendous diminishing of the suffering, that you will find yourself happier, more at peace, more content, more in harmony with life and with everything and everyone. That is the result you will see as you progress in a true, genuine spiritual path. Vasudeva says, by good fortune, a soul may obtain a healthy human life, an opportunity rarely achieved. This is a big point. It's not that every one of us gets to be a human being. It's not that in every life we're human beings. We've been animals. We've been insects. We've been birds. There are 8,400,000 species, according to the Vedas. And we've been through all of that before we got a human form. And now if we don't, and the human form was meant to be able to understand who am I and who is God. Understand really, genuinely, really get it. But if we misuse this opportunity, then we're back again in that cycle of birth and death. So he says, by good fortune, a soul may obtain a healthy human life, an opportunity rarely achieved. But if he is nonetheless deluded about what is best for him, your illusory energy, Maya, will cause this person to waste their entire life. You keep this entire world bound by the ropes of affection. And thus when people consider their material bodies, they think, this is me. And when they consider their progeny, their children and other relations, they think, these are mine. Vasudeva says to his sons, you are not our sons, but you are the very lords of both material nature and its creator. Mahavishnu, as you have yourself told us. You have descended to rid the earth of the rulers who are a heavy burden upon her. Therefore, O friend of the distressed, I now approach your lotus feet for shelter, the same lotus feet that dispel all fear of worldly existence for those who have surrendered to them. This is another very, very important point. All of us live in fear. And when things go crazy, the fear is even greater, like it is right now, as things are becoming more and more crazy in our world, as we see the rise of politicians going berserk, and as we see AI emerging and exploding, we live in deep fear. Whatever levels of fear we had earlier have gone through the roof. But the practice of spirituality is this, that when you take shelter and when you surrender to that divine supreme being who is the source of everything, then that surrender dispels all fear of worldly existence. And then Vasudeva says, enough with hankering for sense enjoyment, which makes one identify with the mortal body. I've been thinking of you, who are the supreme, as my child. I need to get out of this illusion, he's saying. In this verse, Vasudeva offers himself and his wife as excellent examples of those who are materially deluded. Although at the time of his birth in Kansa's prison, Krishna told Vasudeva and Devaki that his mission was to get rid of unwanted rulers. Still, his two parents could not avoid thinking of him as their helpless son who needed protection from King Kamsa. In reality, of course, both Vasudeva and Devaki were participating in the divine pastime of Krishna's birth. Only out of transcendental humility does Vasudeva criticize himself in this way. So you might remember that when Krishna was born, he was the eighth son of Vasudeva and Devaki. It had been predicted that the eighth son was going to kill the king, King Kamsa, who was a tyrant. And so they were put in jail, and all their children were killed one after the other until Krishna was born. And when Krishna was born, he revealed to his parents that, look, I am Vishnu. If you look more closely at that image, you'll get an idea that he is revealing his four-handed form to his parents. And he says, look, I've come here to annihilate all the miscreants, including this king who has imprisoned you. I will make sure that you get out of here. Right? So Vasudeva says, that's Krishna's father, who was the one in prison with his wife Devaki when had Krishna as their son. Vasudeva says, when you were born, you told us that you, the unborn Supreme Lord, had already been born several times as our son in previous ages. So they are like his eternal parents. After manifesting each of those transcendental bodies to protect your own principles of dharma, you then made them unmanifest. So in other words, he appeared in certain forms and then those forms became unmanifest. Thus appearing and disappearing like a cloud. O supremely glorified, all-pervading, supreme being, who can understand the mystic, deluding potency of your opulent expansions? Here you'll notice that Vasudeva condemns himself for thinking of trying to gain special opulences because he is the father of the Supreme Lord. Thus Vasudeva contrasts himself with Nanda, the king of Braja, the one who raised Krishna and his brother Balaram, who was satisfied with pure love of God and nothing else. So Vasudeva, the birth father, Vasudeva and Devaki, right? They did not raise Krishna. In his childhood, he was raised by Nanda and Yashoda. And of course, their love for the gopis and of Vrindavan. And that's all part of what we've talked about earlier episodes. So right now he's saying, I don't have that quality of unconditional love. I don't have that quality of pure love. What does pure love mean? Like when you love someone, do you love them for a reason? Or do you love them just because? Just because they are who they are. Most people, they love someone for a reason, because of how they make you feel. And when you feel you're not getting your needs met, when you feel you're not getting what you want in the relationship, when you feel that maybe there's something better out there, you leave this person and you go to someone else. That is the nature of this world. Our love is conditional, not unconditional. But love of God is by its very definition, pure love is by its very definition unconditional. Unconditional means I love you as you are. And that's what we are here meant to practice with our partners, even with our children and with God. I'm not saying that we can do it easily. I'm not saying it's very hard for us to do because our ego keeps getting in the way. But that's what we're here to practice. So hearing his father's words, Krishna, the Supreme Lord, replied in a gentle voice as he bowed his head in humility and smiled. Srila Jiva Goswami describes that what Krishna thought after hearing his father glorify him, he thought, my father has been honored with the eternal role of being my eternal father. Sometimes something even great demigods like Brahma cannot aspire for. Therefore, he shouldn't be absorbed in thinking of my godly aspects. Moreover, his reverence greatly embarrasses me. So he does not want to be seen. Krishna does not want to be seen as God. He wants to be loved for who he is. Not because of who he is, but for who he is. Isn't it like that? Even if you were someone very wealthy and rich or beautiful or whatever you might be, you don't want to be loved because you are that. No. You don't want to be loved because you're smart or because you're beautiful or because you're wealthy or because of something. No. You want to be loved for who you are. And it is the same with Krishna. It was to avoid this very situation that after killing King Kamsa, I made a special effort to reinforce their pure parental love for me and Balaram. But now, unfortunately, the statements of these sages, when they were at Kurukshetra, those sages had told Krishna's parents who he really is. The statements of the sages threatened to revive some of Vasudeva and Devaki's previous awareness of my majesty. So Krishna says, my dear father, I consider your statements appropriate since you have explained the various categories of existence by referring to us, your sons. Now what he's going to do is he's going to dilute his father's words, make him get him back into that loving state, not because he's God or this or that. He wants to be loved for who he is, right? So he says, not only I, but also you, along with my respected brother and these residents of Dwarka, should all be considered in the same philosophical light. Indeed, we should include all that exists, both moving and non-moving. So he's really diluting it down. Everything is special, everything is divine, not just me, everything, everyone. In the purport, he said, we should not misunderstand the oneness that Krishna speaks of here. The subtle words of the Upanishads often mislead impersonalists into believing that all existence is ineffably one, without any variety in the ultimate issue. Tat Tvam Asi, you are that, affirms that all things are one with God. And many people have fallen for this idea. But this is only a tiny part of the Upanishad. The Upanishads say many things. You are that is partially true, but it is not completely true. You might have the qualities of God, but you do not have the magnificence of God. You are like a drop of water from the ocean. The drop of water from the ocean has the qualities of the ocean, but it is not the ocean. You can drop it into the ocean and you can say, oh, it's become one with the ocean, and now it's still not the ocean, it's still a drop. At an atomic level, it's still a drop. It depends on how you're looking at things. It still does not have the power of the entire ocean. So the Supreme Being, or God, or Krishna, is the whole, is everything. And so therefore to say that you are that Tattvamasi doesn't hold water. In another part of the Upanishad, the Taittiriya Upanishad, it is written, who would there be to activate the creation and give life to all beings if this infinite Supreme were not the original enjoyer? So if there was no one behind the creation, right? If everything was just one, then who would initiate the manifestation of everything? Who would give life to all beings? Who would make everything happen the way it is? There'd be nothing. It'd just be all one big nice soup. Indeed, he alone is the source of all pleasure. So that's a very important point too. He is the source of all pleasure. We are all looking for pleasure. And the ultimate pleasure, because pleasure, no matter how much you have here, it's temporary. And because it is temporary, the pleasures of this world, they never truly satisfy. So therefore, ultimate pleasure is found with Krishna, because he is the all-attractive one. In fact, it is Radha. Radha is the Haladini Shakti, the pleasure potency. She is the feminine aspect of the divine. And she is the one that gives pleasure to Krishna and also pleasure to all of us. So Krishna says the Supreme Spirit, Paramatma, is indeed one. He is self-luminous and eternal, transcendental and devoid of material qualities. So they say that the Supreme Being, God, is nirgun. He has no qualities. He is nirakar, no form. And this is true. He has no material form, no material qualities, but he has spiritual qualities and spiritual forms. When Krishna appears in the world, he doesn't come in a material body like this. He doesn't come in a body that is blood and bones and all of that. He comes in his original spiritual form. And therefore, he never ages. He doesn't look older than 16 years old even when he's 120. He doesn't, no one's able to kill him or harm him in any way, even though many try. Through the agency of the very modes he has created, the one supreme truth manifests as many among the expansions of these modes. The elements of earth, air, fire, water, and earth become visible and invisible, minute or extensive, as they manifest in various objects. Similarly, the Supreme, the Paramatma, the super soul, though one, appears to become many. Hearing these instructions spoken to him by the Supreme Lord Krishna, his father Vasudeva became freed from all ideas of duality. Satisfied at heart, he remained silent. At that time, the universally worshipped mother of Krishna, Devaki, took the opportunity to address her two sons, Krishna and Balaram. Now, previously she had heard with astonishment that they had brought their guru, their spiritual master's sons, back from death. Now, thinking of her own sons who had been murdered by the king Kamsa, she felt great sorrow, and thus with tear-filled eyes, she begged Krishna and Balaram. She said, O Balaram, O Rama, immeasurable Supreme Soul, O Krishna, Lord of all masters of yoga, I know that you are the ultimate rulers of all universal creators, the primeval personalities of Godhead. Taking birth from me, you have now descended to this world in order to kill those kings whose good qualities have been destroyed by the present time, and who thus defy the authority of revealed scriptures and burden the earth. O soul of all that be, the creation, maintenance, and destruction of the universe are all carried out by a fraction of an expansion of your expansion. Today I have come to take shelter of you, Supreme Lord. It is said that when your Guru, your spiritual master, ordered you to retrieve his long-dead son, you brought him back from the forefathers' abode as a token of remuneration for your Guru's mercy. So this was a standard practice with the guru-disciple relationship, that when the disciple finished training with the guru, he got him some dakshina. Dakshina was some kind of a gift, some kind of an offering. This could be done on a regular basis, and it could be especially done when the disciple left the guru's ashram. So the mother of Krishna is now telling him, please fulfill my desire in the same way. O Supreme Masters of all yoga masters, please bring back my sons. So there were 6 sons of hers that were killed by the king Kamsa. Because Kamsa was told that, look, you've been told, the prediction was that your 8th son of Devaki will kill you. But how do you know which is the 8th son? You never know. Could be any of them. Could be any of them. So he started killing all the kids of Devaki. So the same Devaki, the mother of Krishna, is now begging for Krishna to get back her sons who had been killed by the evil king Kamsa, so that she may see them once again. Balaram and Krishna employed their mystic yoga maya potency and entered the region of Sutal. So they went into some of the lower planetary systems. They talk about the higher planetary systems and the lower planetary systems. When the king of the Daityas, the Asuras, King Bali, noticed the arrival of Krishna and Balaram, his heart overflowed with joy, since he knew them to be the supreme soul and worshipable deity of the entire universe, and especially for himself. He immediately stood up and bowed down to offer respect along with his entire entourage. So they've come to this king's palace, right? King Bali. And this is like, we're talking about an entirely different universe now. Bali took pleasure in offering them elevated seats. So this is the king, but he sees Krishna has come. He offers him an elevated seat. And then sat down and he washed the feet of the Supreme Personalities. This is the respect given. This is the humility offered. When they know that that divine being, or even a great saintly person would arrive, they would do that. But here in this case, they have the fortune of meeting with the Supreme Being himself. Then he took that water, which purifies the entire world, and poured it upon himself and his followers. He worshipped Krishna and Balaram with all the riches at his disposal, priceless clothing, ornaments, fragrant sandalwood paste, betel nut lamps, sumptuous food, and so on. Then he offered them all his family's wealth, and including himself. I offer myself to you. I give all of me to you. And this is what he had done in an earlier time as well, when Vishnu had come to him as Vamana. You might remember that story also in the Srimad Bhagavatam. And King Bali had offered his entire kingdom to the dwarf Brahman, Vaman. And at that time too, Krishna had blessed him. So although he was an Asura, although he was basically born in a family of evil people, yet he was a godly person himself, very divine being, very surrendered. In the purport it said, King Bali's devotional attitude is renowned as the perfect example of complete self-surrender. When Vishnu, in the guise of a young Brahmin student, Vamana, approached him for charity, Bali offered all that he possessed. And when he had nothing left to offer, he surrendered himself as the Supreme Lord's eternal servant. There are 9 standard processes of devotional service, and the last, Atma Samarpanam, as taught by Bali, is the culmination toward which every endeavor should aim. If one tries to impress the Supreme Lord with wealth, power, intelligence, and so on, but fails to humbly understand oneself to be his servant, one's so-called devotion is only a presumptuous show. Taking hold of Krishna and Balaram's lotus feet again and again, Bali spoke from his heart, which was melting out of intense love. As tears of ecstasy filled his eyes and the hair on his limbs stood on end, he began to speak with faltering words. So there's this ecstasy that one experiences in contact with the Supreme Being. Ecstasy that shows up as tears in the eyes. It shows up as the hair standing on end. It shows up in rapture within oneself. King Bali said, obeisances to the unlimited Lord, Ananta, the greatest of all beings, and obeisances to Sri Krishna, the creator of the universe, who appears as the impersonal absolute and the Paramatma supersoul in order to disseminate the principles of Sankhya and Yoga. At this point, Srila Prabhupada says, King Bali was feeling such transcendental pleasure that he repeatedly grasped Krishna's lotus feet and kept them on his chest, and sometimes he put them on the top of his head, and in this way he was feeling transcendental bliss. Tears of love and affection began to flow from his eyes, and all his bodily hairs stood on end. Bali continues saying, seeing you is a rare achievement for most living beings, but even persons like us, situated in the modes of passion and ignorance, can easily see you when you reveal yourself by your own sweet will. So people often say, well, show me God. I don't believe there is a God. Show me God. Well, if you were to say that about the president of the country, show me the president. I don't know. That guy I see on the TV, I don't know if he exists. Maybe there's just an actor. You may have your doubts that he exists or doesn't exist, but that doesn't mean that you can just demand and command and suddenly the president will show up at your door and he'll show himself to you just because you said so. We can see God, and many people have. They've had darshan, they've seen him. But how did that happen? Through pure devotion. When you are devoted, when you have actually unconditional love for God, He reveals Himself to you. Many who had been constantly absorbed in enmity towards you ultimately became attracted to you. So there are people even who hated Krishna, who hated God, and ultimately became attracted to Him because their meditation was so intense. You who are the direct embodiment of transcendental goodness and whose divine form comprises the revealed scriptures, these reformed enemies include ourselves and many others like us. Some of us have become attached to you or attracted to you because of exceptional hatred, while others have become attracted because of their mood of devotion based on lust. But the demigods and others infatuated by material goodness feel no such attraction for you. I've often said this. If you're going to do something, if you're going to be on a spiritual path, if you're going to want to experience the highest forms of ecstasy, of love of God, love of the divine, then do it with a passion. Don't do it half-heartedly. Do it with all you've got. If you're going to hate God, then hate God with a passion. If you're going to love God with a passion. Either way, you'll get to God. Because either way, it's a meditation. When there's an intensity, there'll be a result. But when it's half-baked and you're kind of like going along and enjoying life, and at the same time, yeah, I do a little puja, a little prayer, I read a little book, well, you don't get anywhere. It doesn't happen. There needs to be an intensity. What to speak of ourselves, Bali says. O Lord of all perfect yogis, even the greatest mystics do not know what your spiritual power of delusion is or how it acts. Please be merciful to me so I may get out of the blind well of family life, my false home, and find the shelter of your lotus feet, which selfless sages always seek. Then either alone or in the company of great saints who are the friends of everyone, I may wander freely, finding life's necessities at the feet of the universally charitable trees. So he's saying, if I have your blessings, I will become free of all my attachments to this world. Then I can be free to wander everywhere, finding life's necessities wherever there are trees, wherever there is nature. O Lord of all subordinate creatures, please tell us what to do and thus free us from all sin. One who faithfully executes your command, O Master, is no longer obliged to follow the ordinary Vedic rituals. Then Krishna said, during the age of the first Manu, the sage Marichi, this is going right back to the beginning of creation of this universe. During the age of the first Manu, the sage Marichi had 6 sons by his wife Urma. They were all exalted devas or demigods. But once they laughed at Brahma when they saw him preparing to have sex with his own daughter. So there's this very scandalous moment where Brahma, it is said, chased after his daughter. So Brahma is known to be the creator of the universe. God personally doesn't do anything. He qualifies other people to do this work. So each universe is created by a different Brahma. So this one particular Brahma became infatuated by his daughter. Now, actually the statement that it was his daughter is actually false, because he did not conceive her with some other female. He simply created her. He had been given the power to create universes and also the beings that would come into them to give them the bodies. The souls are never created. Souls are never born and never die. But he had the power to give them the forms of animals and birds and creatures and all that kind of stuff. He does the creation work. Now, his first and original creation was that of a woman, and he was very drawn to her and chased her. So because of this improper act, these sons of Marichi was himself a very highly evolved sage, but his sons, 6 sons, they had been laughing at Brahma. And because of that improper act, they immediately they were sort of cursed, and they had entered into a demonic form of life, meaning that they became the children of asuras. And they first became, Kalanemi was the first asura, these 6 boys they had to take birth with, and then Hiranyakashipu. Ultimately, they were by the arrangement of Yogamaya, they were born from Devaki's womb, Krishna's mother's womb, and then comes murdered them. But that was also part of a curse that was given to them by their asura, their demonic father Hiranyakashipu, who had cursed them that they would be killed by their own father. Hiranyakashipu incidentally tried his best to kill his own son, Prahlad. Anyway, so they were born from Devaki's womb and Kans murdered them. Devaki still laments for them, thinking of them as her sons. These same sons of Marichi are now living with you here. So Krishna wants that those sons of Marichi who had become the sons of Devaki and who had been killed by King Kams, he wants to be able to take them back to his mother, because that's what she'd asked. We wish to take them from this place to dispel their mother's sorrow. Then, released from their curse and free from all suffering, they will return to their home in the heavenly planets. By my grace, they will return to the abode of pure saints. After saying this, Krishna and Balaram, having been duly worshipped by the king, took the 6 sons and returned to Dwarka, where they presented them to their mother. When Devaki saw her lost children, she felt such affection for them that milk flowed from her breasts. She embraced them and took them onto her lap, smelling their heads, and again, lovingly, she let her sons drink from her breast, which became wet with milk just by their touch. She was entranced by the same illusory energy of Vishnu that initiates the creation of the universe. She was completely in this beautiful illusory state. These are my sons, they've come back. By drinking her nectarian milk, the remnants of what Krishna himself had previously drunk when he was a baby, 6 sons touched the transcendental body of the Supreme Lord in that way. And this contact awakened them to their original identities. So what they're saying is, Krishna's mother is Devaki. She was giving her milk to baby Krishna. But now that same mother was giving the same milk to the 6 sons of hers that had been killed. And they received the blessings of Krishna through their mother's milk. They bowed down to Krishna after all this was over. Devaki, their father, and Balaram. And then as everyone looked on, they left for the abode of the Devas, or the demigods, the heavenly planets. Seeing her sons return from death and then depart again, the saintly Devaki was struck with wonder. She concluded that this was all simply an illusion created by Krishna. She didn't believe it had actually happened. Shri Krishna, the Supreme Soul, the Lord of unlimited valor, performed countless pastimes just as amazing as this one. This pastime, enacted by Krishna, whose fame is eternal, totally destroys the sins of the universe and serves as the transcendental ornament for his devotees' ears. Anyone who carefully hears or narrates this pastimes, as recounted by the venerable son of Vyas, Shukadev, will be able to fix his mind in meditation on the Supreme Lord and attain to the all-auspicious kingdom of God. With that, we end with the Bhagavatam, 10th Canto, chapter 85. If you have any questions, I'd love to answer them. I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions. I'd love to know what you understood, what you got. Thank you so much for listening all the way to the end and for being here. Some of you are here on Instagram, others are there on YouTube, some are there on Zoom. We're here every Tuesday at the same time. That is 8 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Pacific time. And we look forward to seeing you as we continue reading. Now, if you have joined for the first time, know that the entire series of the Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam is there on my YouTube channel. Search for it by name at Rohit Juneja and you'll find me there. And you'll be able to watch all of them right from the beginning. There's more than I think about 150 hours of video there that you can watch and try to explain it to the best of my ability. I know that there's so much more that can be said on these topics. There are so much wiser people than me. I'm just trying to do a little bit of service in whatever I can. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for joining me. Hare Krishna. as I said, if you do have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Thank you. All right, we'll end here.